Hey, this is Sully for Anti-Social News Body Count Report, and today is Tuesday, September the 18th, 2017. I'm going to take you around the world to Israel, the Philippines, and Nigeria. We look all around the world to find news stories where people are fighting for or losing their lives. So found some interesting stories to show you. And let's go first to Israel, to a very interesting story about police brutality being seen and noted, and the police woman being indicted. There's some misconceptions I bumped into on free speech forums that believe that all Jews love Israel and never ever dissent with the Israeli government, but in fact, there are several denominations of Judaism that have beef with the Israeli government, with military tactics, who disapprove of different aspects of Israel as a state, and specifically with the military side of things. And there was large protests this week in Israel. So there was a woman who bopped a guy in the head 3 times, which, I mean, that's, people die of head injuries, but thankfully this guy didn't. But she apparently fabricated a police report, is accused of fabricating police report, blaming him for the issue. So it's nice to see that there is basically a very tight watch on policing, and people are held accountable in Israel. Also, there is dissent. This isn't a... it's sad that it's not peaceful. It's sad that there was riots, but there should be, in any democracy, people having their voices heard. I think it's sad that it got to this point with Jews fighting each other in the streets, but I think it humanizes Israel, and I hope people see that these are people with individual wants and desires. They're not a monolith. They're not a them. They are an us. They are humans who sometimes fight. Okay, moving on. We have a very interesting situation in the Philippines, as I've been following the routing of Maute out of Marawi City. There is a new group that's popped up. So an armed group emerges, warns of new holy war. This scenario surfaced after a new shadowy group that calls itself Maranao Victims Movement was born on Monday and posted online several demands for restoration of normalcy in Marawi City and in the province of Lanao de Sur. The members of MVM introduced themselves to fellow Maranao instead of the usual spelling Maranao, as sons and brethren who are among evacuees from Marawi City. They said some of them have relatives among the civilians who perished in clashes that began May 23rd. And what is more hurting, according to them, is that their kin's remains are yet to be retrieved from the war zone. It's almost 4 months now that we have been seeking shelter in evacuation centers or among our relatives' homes in different towns, the MVM said in a statement. It added that some of the evacuees have passed away while others fell sick, prompting its members to unite and call the group as Maranao Victims Movement. The group said their movement is dedicated to help in fighting for rights for Bangsa Maranao, whose dignity was trampled upon by the siege of Marawi by the Maute group. Okay, so they are actually against Maute. the MVM added that it does not approve of the use of Marawi City as sanctuary by any group. It said that it finds unacceptable the actions of the government that caused the displacement of tens of thousands and deaths of several civilians from aerial bombings and use of heavy armaments, which are among the prohibited practices under international humanitarian law. Okay, so they have complaints against Malte and against the federal government. Local leaders blamed the MVM. The MVM said it holds past and present local leaders responsible for failing to prevent the Malte group from carrying out its plan, since they were fully aware the group's presence in the city prior to the siege and for literally forsaking civilians. It added that it is dismayed by the Moro Islamic Liberation Front, since nothing has been heard from the group, nor has it made a categorical position on the Marawi crisis. Now, this kind of confuses me, because the Moro Islamic Liberation Front actually has been very vocal in identifying radicals in the area, but they've been mostly occupied with actively fighting the Bangsa Moro Islamic freedom fighters. So, I mean, I wouldn't expect the MVM to be aware of the news as much as I am, since I've got this, other side of the world view of things. But and they're in refugee camps and sleeping on their families' floors and in exile from their homes. But still, that should be clarified in this article. The MVM's demands. First, we would like to ask our kinfolk from among the so-called IS Maute group to leave Marawi City at once and free their hostages, Muslims and Christians alike. Second, we would like to ask the government, especially President Rodrigo Duterte, the following. 1. Allow civilians to return to their homes in areas in Marawi City that were already cleared by the military. 2. Stop the aerial bombings of Marawi City, if only to salvage houses or buildings that may not have been destroyed yet. 3. The abuses of some military and police personnel at checkpoints and stop the abuses of some military and police personnel at checkpoints and accord respect to civilians and especially the women. 4. Ease access to and from Marawi City, especially the roads through Barangay Maliwanag, so that people in the first district of Lanao de Sur would have better and convenient access. 5. Secure the remains of civilians, so they may not be mixed with the garbage in the process of military clearing operations, so that they may be given proper burial, even if only skeletons are left of them. 6. Provide immediate appropriate material and financial support to all wounded civilians, victims similar to the support being provided by the government to wounded military and police personnel. 7. Compensate for damaged houses and buildings, wasted goods and merchandise of civilians, and provide for their livelihood as well. 8. Rebuild or rehabilitate the mosques and madrasas and other destroyed structures that represented the Maranao culture and heritage. 9. Importantly, the government should not make any hint that it would occupy the land of Maranaos on the basis of military preservation. Instead, it should help legitimate owners of their respective land titles. And 10, for the military and the Philippine National Police personnel to avoid occupying mosques and madrasas. 3rd, We demand from our local political leaders to account for all the relevant government funds, such as the Calamity Fund and all assistance and donations, and ensure transparent and equitable implementation or spending of the same. Fourth, we are enjoining the MILF, the Moro Islamic Liberation Front, to support the foregoing demands by ensuring that these reach all those concerned. Heed our call or else. The MVM warned that in case Islamic State or Maute Group's kinsfolk would not heed their call, we would be compelled to face you, because by then you no longer care for the welfare of the people, and you did not only fail to realize but have violated the essence of jihad in Islam. It also warned the government. This will be the last time that we will ask in relation to previous demands of various sectors of the Maranao society, and that if foregoing demands will fall on deaf ears, likewise we will be compelled to fight for our rights that have been trampled upon, and that jihad becomes our legitimate resource. Okay, so this is a kind of scary. It's scary in a couple ways. It's comforting in some ways that they are, the first parts of their demands are very much showing as a strong sign against Maute, against Islamic State. But then towards the end, where they're basically getting into the points where they're like, hey, and we want you to let off on all security measures to the government. So, and then of course they start kind of threatening the government. So, it's kind of concerning, because some of the rhetoric reminds me of the PLO, where they would this is stronger condemnation of militant Islam than any PLO stuff I've seen. So maybe they're on the right track and they're more moderate, similar to MILF, but they are still being very threatening towards the government, which is iffy, because this is not the government to do that with. This is the government that says, when we're done killing that group, we'll kill you too. So I don't want to see this just spiral into another siege of Marawi, but now called the Siege of Maranao. But yeah, MVM tried to boost morale of Maranao. So hopefully they're good guys. Hopefully they're just sort of like the guardian angels of Maranao. Hopefully that's what they're going to try to be, and they're just going to be keeping things safe. Okay, one last quote here. It's almost 4 months now that we have been waiting for any groups or individuals who would take the cudgels for our land and our people, but it seems none is coming. So more crying about the lack of MILF, and then back-end threats of the government. Interesting. We'll keep an eye on that group. Moving on to Nigeria. Thank you to Vanguard Nigeria for these reports. And an IPOB update. Saraki senators in marathon meeting. These are people trying to work out the indigenous peoples of Biafra situation and trying to come to a peaceful resolution, because, as I discussed yesterday and prior days, the Nigerian government has referred to them as a terrorist organization, which is very serious. So they are essentially a separatist group. So it's understandable that they're going to clash with the government, but declaring them a terrorist group is sort of another step. Now, strangely, even though Nigeria considers IPOB a terrorist group, and Nigeria also has a serious Boko Haram problem in the north. President Buhari, he goes to the UN General Assembly, and here, let me just scoot something up here. Let me show you the window capture. Look what I've done. I've done a search here down in the corner, for Boko. Let's see if Boko Haram is mentioned at all in this situation. Maybe they just call it. Maybe they just call it BH. No mention of BH. Haram? No. No mention of Boko Haram. Maybe Abu. The name of the bad guy in the group is Abu. Nope, just Abuja. Okay. Yeah, so the president of Nigeria, a country that by their own statements they have huge terrorist issues, including Boko Haram, an ISIS affiliate in their country that has bombed markets, kidnapped children, and has been running slavery outfits. He goes in front of the General Assembly and talks about ISIS and, of course, the Rohingya, North Korea, and the Rohingya. So yes, I a little disappointed because as we've discussed in this, Good Luck Jonathan also was sort of dismissive of Boko Haram, something that very, very much horrifies people in the West, and then you have a lot of Nigerian sentiment on it as, oh, that's just those people in the North. So let's hope that people take these bad guys seriously and the threats that they pose to humanity, so that these will be stories about people fighting for their lives, not losing them. And this has been the Body Count Report for Tuesday, September the 19th, 2017. I've learned a lot. I'm very interested in following the MVM and seeing what pans out with the Biafra situation in Nigeria. Yes, everybody stay safe out there.